Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are at the bottom of the hour here, and so for everybody's time, we will get started. Thanks for joining. My name is Jill Ransom. I am the Vice President of Marketing here at Adeptia, and I'll be your host and moderator. Just a quick note that lines are muted. But we certainly encourage participation. If you have a question or a comment at any time, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A box to enter your questions. Just some quick context about Adeptia if we're new to you. Adeptia Automate is our data integration platform built for teams who are tired of waiting on someone else's ticket queue to get things done. That's really the purpose of our webinar today. Whether you're onboarding a partner, changing business rules, mapping a new file format, with Adeptia, you really can take back control, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to be showing you live what it looks like when that control comes back to you and your teams. And I have got two individuals here with me today that live this life every day. So please welcome Jim and Rahman. Jim is a senior sales leader here at Adeptia with over 20 years of enterprise selling and a ton of industry experience. And Rahman is our director of sales engineering, the technical mind behind wins with teams like AIG, Fidelity, Mass Mutual, and he's the person who helps us make any integration problem look easy. So before I turn it over to those two, let's take a quick look at the agenda, if you will. So we're going to kick things off with Jim, set the stage for what we're about to discuss. Today's session is really going to be focused on three core demos: onboarding a new partner, adding a business rule, and governance control and unstructured data. And we'll end things with Jim with a couple of case study shares and commentary. So with that, I will turn it over to Jim to get things started.
Hey, thank you, Jill. So excited to be here today. I want to thank everybody for paying attention to this. And so Ramon and I have been, traipsing around the country and the globe, talking about this for a number of years. Ramon's been here 20 years. I've been here over 12 years. And with that being said, we've kept seeing the same thing over and over. And it's when a company, and it could be a Fortune 10 company, it could be a Fortune 1000 company. When the company that you're doing business with is sending you data and a field changes or the data changes in general, they change systems, what have you, and you are utilizing a third-party managed service to be able to help direct traffic with that, and there are plenty of those companies out there. What happens then? So ultimately, being able to take that data in becomes very hard and tenuous. We're going to show you how we go from kind of a straw as we have here to how do we make that more into a fire hose? How do we get your business to be able to accept new data or change data from your new customers or current customers and ultimately still recognize revenue faster, making your team way more efficient. IT still involved from a governance standpoint, but ultimately they get to stand back, do more strategic work while your business users are more enabled. And are they more enabled? It's 2026, right? Everybody's trying to do everything with AI, but the data that's coming across on these feeds are not something you just want to feed an AI platform and have some vibe coded application work on. So that's where Adeptia comes into play. And we're going to show you how we are able to drastically reduce the time it takes to ultimately bring on new data or change data. Ramon, please. Okay, so we're going to show a few things today, and we'll go through a couple of what we're calling demos. But nonetheless, onboarding a new partner, adding a business rule to it, and then ultimately making sure that the governance and control, and if there's any unstructured data, such as like a PDF is coming across, how do we get that data off of it and into a format that your company can use? And I was just in a meeting recently with Fortune 100 company, and the person that we were dealing with, kind of the champion there, was trying to get things changed for some huge digital transformation project. Ultimately sat back and said, everybody has this problem. Everybody, every place I've went, and they were at 6 places within their 20-year career. And so with that being said, Adeptia is well known within the insurance space, but we are well used in manufacturing and in distribution as well. And so I can't wait. And I'm so excited to be able to see Ramon in action. Hold on to your keyboards, but Ramon will get going here and show you how we can do things differently for you.
So thank you, Jim. And as part of this demo, we will set the stage in terms of showing you how we can onboard a new partner. So uh, the idea is that we will be able to use templates, help business users log into the application, be able to very easily use those templates to set up the end-to-end data ingestion as well as transformation and validation of the data, and also show the runtime in terms of how observability or monitoring screens help you to identify any issues with the data as it comes into the data flow and have the ability to actually fix it, remediate those actual errors, and be able to send that data to your record keeping system. So, as part of demo one, let's get started and let's show you how the application would help a business user. So here, what we'll do is we'll go into our application, and the application is a completely browser-based application. So you will notice that I have logged in as a business user. When you log into the application, it's all role-based, so business users can have different roles. So within some of the implementations that our clients have done in terms of using our application and building these different solutions, they organize the users based on role. So you can have a validation role or a mapping team role and an operations role. So different users log in with different roles. And as part of this example, we'll go into the observe and monitoring later on in the demo. But first, let's go through the onboarding process. So let's suppose we have a partner that we want to onboard. So within the application, we have a feature called networks. Networks allow you to organize and manage whatever entities that you are working with or exchanging information with. So for example, as part of this demo, I've created networks where you may be exchanging information with financial institutions like banks and so on. Or you can also have a network of systems that you are exchanging information where you are pulling in employee data or workflow data related to an employee within an organization. So all of that information can be pulled from these entities, and you have a very easy way to create a new partner within a network. So network gives you ability to organize your different entities, your partners, your suppliers, and so on within a organized category. So in this example, what we'll do is we'll go into the brokers network. So for example, let's say you're an insurance company, you're dealing with a lot of third-party administrators, managing general agents, and they're sending a lot of data to your organization. And that data could be census data, enrollment data, EOI-related data, evidence of insurability, or it could be claims data and so on. So the data is all over the place and it's of different types and formats. So let's suppose Benefits TPA is one of that organization that you're exchanging information with. And then let's suppose this particular partner is going to send you data in this format that has a header and that has a lot of information as part of the employee that data that they're sending to you as part of their group benefits, for example. So let's suppose you are going to receive this. You can very easily configure Benefits TPA as a new partner. So there's a tab where you can go in, add that partner, and which I have done here as part of this demo. So this is what I see as part of this new partner profile. Now, what I will do is I will go in and click on Manage Templates. What it does is that it allows you ability to very easily pull in that, let's say, Excel spreadsheets or CSV files or XML, JSONs, whatever the formats that those partners are about to send you. You have the ability to use a template. So now templates are predefined by your power users who can specify your target formats, where the data goes into as part of your target data record keeping system, and so on. And those templates also have rules already predefined in those templates. So, for example, I have an enrollment template. So, in your case, if you're a manufacturing, think about your invoicing automation or your purchase order capture automations and so on, right? So, those are the type of templates you can configure and then show to the business teams, like I'm showing here for this particular use case. So here what we'll do is we'll click on use this as part of this example. We will click on use this, and this will open up a wizard on your screen, which will allow you to basically say, hey, this is a enrollment eligibility automation. I can choose my partner, let's say benefits TPA as part of this dropdown, right? So this is where, you can very easily select which partner is going to send you the data. You can go into the source. You have the ability to specify what your layout is. And by the way, we have a lot of connectors as part of how we can pull data from different systems and all of those things that are available as part of our connector list. So we have the ability to pull data from all different connectors, as you can see here. So coming back to the screen here, we have the ability to also provide the end user the ability to basically set up the connection in terms of when to pull in files. So if you're currently using managed file transfer applications, they're just good in moving files. And we can, of course, we support that capability, but we do much more beyond that, right? We have the ability to not just move files, but also transform, do validations, and so on. So for example, the next step in this setup is I'm going to specify which folders the files are coming from, and then very easily you can click next, and then specify what is your overall target, your source format that you want to map to the target. So here I'm specifying the source. Here you can go in, you can specify that my incoming data is Excel and so on and so forth. And then you can get to the mapping piece, right? So you can have the ability to specify the Excel layouts and so on. And then in the mapping is where you can specify your source to your target transformations. And what does this entail? Well, in our application, we have the ability to go in, pull that Excel data that you're bringing in from that TPA, for example. The template already knows what it needs to map to, so that's your target format. And now you have the ability to go into the AI mapping engine that we have, which allows you to simply map the data to those specific source to target fields. So that you can have a chat window here. You can say, hey, map this data to this particular target format. And one of the things that you can also do as part of rule building is you have the ability to kind of like go into the application and say, hey, this specific date of birth rule, I want to change it. So I can go into details. It can show all the history related to, hey, this requires a specific format. This is a date of birth that is coming in this format. So we can say convert this to a MMDDYY format. So we can say MMDDYYY format. And you can also say convert from. So you can be more specific. So here we can say convert from this date to this date format to this format, to this particular format, right? So there's a change in the date format. And then you can provide that specific rule change. So a rule could be transformation related, but it could also be if then else conditions and so on and so forth. And now you will notice that it passed and it has the ability to now say, okay, yeah, this particular incoming is going to be converted into this output format very easily. So again, this is a simple example, but we have seen very complex functions being written in natural language, and those are converted into actual rules that are executed at runtime. So this is deterministic. We are not sending your data to AI. We are basically using AI to design these rules at design time, which are executed at runtime. And you can test it. So that's your test UI screen here. So this is very, very useful, and it reduces a lot of time to onboard the data from this particular partner because you have a very easy way to just specify the rules, or you can upload rules and those will be automatically configured so you don't have to type every time on specific fields. So you can accept the mapping, and then you have the ability to go into bulk actions, accept those, and you can accept all, and then you can confirm the mapping. So that particular data, that Excel spreadsheet data, this one right here, based on that setup of the layout and then going to the mapping, converts that into this particular mapping setup, right? So this is your transformation. And you have the ability to also test it, so you can test your data as well. So you have all of those capabilities to make sure that the data output at runtime will always be correct and successfully ingested into your downstream system. So you have the ability to test it as well. So a lot of times business users will ask, like, how do I test data? Like I'm transforming, how do I test it? And this is a very easy way to perform that action. Once this is done, that's all there is to it. You can complete your automation, and that automation, along with all the other ones, will show up as part of that specific partner, as well as, let's say, if we go into this one, we can go in and look at all the specific automations that we have set up for that specific partner. So you have the ability to say, hey, we have completed the claims automation and the eligibility enrollment automation and so on and so forth. So very easy way to bring in data, map, apply rule changes, and then automate and test it. One of the things that we also do within the application is the ability to observe what is happening with the data. So I have the tab already open here. So if you go to the dashboard within the application, there is an observe component, which is MCP based. So we have agents that set up that look at logs, bring in all the information through the MCP server, and then provide all that information here. And you also have the ability to basically go in and say, hey, what is the success trend looks like in the past 30 days? And you can go in and ask AI that specific question, and that question will be routed through our agents to the MCP server, which will go pull all that information, and then, as you can see here, bring all of that into this dashboard visibility screen. So this is, again, as you set up these automations with your partners, how do you know what's happening? What is the success? What is failure? And the observe capability that we have is really comprehensive and very productive in terms of managing errors and remediating those errors or correcting those errors. Now, going back to our PowerPoint here that we will go here, the second one is adding a business rule. So we showed a little bit about how we can change a transformation rule, but there's more to the rules related to the data conversion rather than just transformation. And that's where the business rules really reside. What if, the claim amount or general insurability amount for this particular insured is greater than 5,000 or whatever the case may be? Or think about in your case, if you're manufacturing, if your PO is greater than a certain amount, you may want to hold that PO or send it to a workflow task for review. So that's where the rules really come into the picture, right? So we have mapping rules, that's the date of birth change like we did from one format to the other. But then there are validation rules, and that's where we're going to go next. So now, as part of the validation rules, what we will do is we'll go in and show you how this is actually handled within the product. So here's the success rate dashboard that just got completed. So you can basically see what the prompt that we just gave us this result. Now, let's go back to our business rules, which is the step 2 of the demo. In our application within the platform, based on roles that you can predefine within the application in terms of, there's a role that just sets up business roles, right? So you can have a role like that. And then where the user will go, they will go to the business rules component of our application and they can set up rule sets. So what does that mean? Well, for that employee benefit rules, or you can think about clinical data validation rules or any other rules that you may have as part of your use cases, you can set up those as part of this create rule set. And then as part of the application, you can go in, let's suppose I've already configured these, I can go in and add a new one. So you don't have to rely on IT to add a rule or make a change to a rule. You can do it yourself. You can empower your teams who understand data, who understand validation rules and the type of data that you need to send to your record keeping system, give them that power to make changes and own this particular part of the data flow. So that should be the criteria of why this product, this application is really important for organizations like yours. And the reason why I'm saying that is, for example, here, the idea of going into a particular role and say, hey, the first name should not be blank. It should be populated, otherwise error out, right? So this could be a very simple rule where you can very easily write it in plain English, and then the code is automatically written by AI. So this is a design time activity. So we're not sending data to LLM. We are sending prompts to LLM to create code for us, which is then executed at runtime whenever that file arrives in a certain location. So the idea is that this is the Python code gets written. You can, of course, add it, make your own extensible Python code and add it here. So there are a lot of ways to further modify this. A lot of times our clients already have logic built into Java or Python, and they ask us, hey, can we just leverage that? And the answer is yes. Or we can also pull previous mappings that you may have configured in older tools. We can migrate those maps to our tool as well. So there's a lot of interoperability in terms of how we can handle this. But what I'm saying here is you have the ability to add rules. You can also test rules to make sure that you have the ability to test it. So for example, if I remove a rule or remove a first name and then run this rule, so you'll notice that the rule failed. So this particular rule for first name check or anything else that we want to add, we can bulk load the rules as well. So those will all appear here and you can manage them, you can activate them. And that's where your first name is blank rule is executed and shown as an error, right? So this is a test. But what we really do is we show errors as part of visibility screens and as part of dashboards. So this example here, or SSN related rule that we have, and so on and so forth, is actually shown. So imagine you have set up all these rules here. At runtime, what we do is we show those errors in a very nice dashboard screens, and we have a capability to build these very easily. And this is what that particular dashboard will really help us with. So for example, that file came in, there was a dependency mismatch. So you will notice that we have the ability to provide uh, critical rule sets here that are not being met. For example, there's a dependency mismatch, there's a missing SSN, there's a missing field related to employment ineligibility, which is this particular field here. There are two records that are mismatching. So that rule that we have defined for first name or what have you are actually at runtime or executed. And if we find any errors in the data, we show those errors as part of this dashboard screen. So, and we can show like, hey, this particular file came in, this failed, this one had these issues with it, and then this one had these two errors in it. So you have full visibility in terms of what failed and how you can fix it. So we also have the ability to fix data, and then you can also go through resolution steps in terms of who should fix any data. So that itself has different policies and guidelines around it. So I think this is very critical as part of how we can help end-to-end data flow, data validation, and then showing errors so that you have the ability to respond to those errors. Now let's go back to our screen here. And then the final step is the demo 3, which is the ability to handle governance, control, unstructured data, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm going to do next and show you how we can handle roles and permissions and basically handle unstructured data as well, because not every time data is structured. So to handle unstructured data, what we'll do is we'll use an IDP format here, which we have a feature already built into the application. And the idea here is, let's suppose we have a unstructured data coming in. So let's suppose we have this type of a PDF data that we want to extract, like plan year and so on and so forth. So think about this type of data. And then we have the ability to go in and basically upload a specific output that we want to pull that data into some sort of a structured canonical format. And then we have the ability to click on extract data. And then what that extract data does is that it will start executing and then pulling the data, and then it will show you the results of that specific extraction in that process data panel. So that is something we have really spent a lot of time on. We have really made it very accurate. The speed is, very excellent. And then it brings in all the information as part of the data capture that is happening as part of this. So you'll notice now we are pulling in data. It's pulling in all the information related to, from where it's finding any data as part of this example and so on and so forth. So all of this is being mapped. And if it doesn't find it, that's fine. We can say, hey, it's not found in the data and so on and so forth. But that is the key idea behind it, that we have the ability to go in and look at information. So you now notice it's finding information of drug tier, retail, exclusion, and then summary plan information, and so on and so forth from that data. And then you have the ability to, once you have converted this, you can go into review and it will actually show you from where it's actually pulling the data from. So you can go into page 2 and it will find and highlight those extraction values and so on and so forth as part of this example. There's another example that I can also show you. For example, here we have this particular data, and I need to upload another type of data that I need to extract this into. So let's say it's this one right here. I can click on this. So this is a mock data, of course, that I'm showing as part of this example. And now you will notice that the engine is analyzing the data. It's now populating the fields to the right target fields, as you can see here. And once it completes, it will also show you traceability. So this will help you trace from where the data is coming from. So let's wait and give it a few seconds as it completes. So the point I'm making is that your partner may be sending PDFs or fax documents or Excel sheets or some scanned images, and maybe we need to extract data from there. So that is what we also have built-in IDP capability, and it completes the whole extraction as you can see here, and then it will give you full traceability of from where this data is coming from. So
Yeah.
this is another example. Yeah.
Yeah, but the neat thing is like this PDF looks, pristine, right? But we get our customers examples where they're not pretty and they have lines through them, or there's handwritten notes, and we can pull all that information as well at
Yeah.
the same time. And it can even be an image, and we can help describe, what it is within a claims process.
Right. Absolutely. And finally, on the roles, we have the ability to specify roles. So as part of your capability, you can have a sysadmin or a super user role. And within the application, we have this role component. So why is that important? So for example, let's say if we have a benefits role, all this role does is allows users to onboard a new partner that we just went through as part of this example. And then you have the ability to kind of like specify who within that role can manage these different networks. So like carriers and brokers or HR payroll systems and financial systems and so on. And then when you click next, it has a full access control list that shows up to say, hey, this user can perform automation setup. So you can see whether they can edit or create or execute an automation, whether they can set up a new network, whether they can set up a new partner, or sometimes you may want to remove some of these features from them, and maybe they will just be able to execute, meaning that the partner may be set up by someone else, but they will be able to use it as part of automation setup, right? So the idea here is roles become a very critical aspect of how you govern who does what when they log into the application. Without it, then everybody will be able to do anything, and then there will be no control. So that's how our role-based access control is really valued by Fortune 100 companies, because they really look into the governance part of it, not just the technology and features part of it. So for them, governance is as important, even more important than whatever the technology provides out of the box. So I think this covers that aspect of the demo as well.
Yeah.
Now I will hand it off back to you, Jim, and
Yeah.
you can take it from there. Yep.
Yeah, so going back to the main theme, if you're utilizing a managed services provider or a value-added network to be able to do this type of work for you, It is painful. Typically, what happens is your customer will end up changing something, and a SOW needs to be created, or a change order or a change request, so that that entity knows that they're going to get paid to do the extra onboarding work of that data. And before, it was too hard for you as an organization to do it because there wasn't an application that didn't involve coding or essentially major backlog. So what did you do? You outsourced that work to another entity. It's really expensive. We all know that. It's very slow. If you take a step back and look at it, it's very, very slow. And so ultimately, then the worry was, well, what's going to happen the rest of the way? Well, with Adeptia, and this isn't a marketing piece, this is our customers coming back and telling us over and over and over again that is typically 80% faster, if not faster than that, to be able to take data in, get it in the hands of a data analyst within our application, and then get it into production. So saving days, understanding what the change was dramatically by 80%, and then getting that data onboarded, saving that 80%. Ultimately, though, when you think strategically about this, are you in control of your business at that point? And the answer really is no. The managed service is stopping you from gaining more revenue. And so those maps that were created someplace else are now in your control. So 500 plus maps sitting out there, that somebody else has that feeds back into your business. Now that's your IP, not their IP. So you can change it on the fly, keep your customer satisfaction ratings very high, even keep your employees more satisfied, being able to give them the tools and the efficiency to be able to help their customers, and they're just trying to do their job. Where before there was a bottleneck because, yeah, there was a lot of code and IT, bless them, essentially they've got to keep everything else running too, not just worry about, oops, here comes a change from a data feed. So with that, we look at it as one process flow, one owner. Onboarding that data, being able to map, validate, transform data, and deliver it to your systems. And it could be a mainframe, it could be a data lake, a Snowflake, Databricks, etc. Wherever that data needs to go, that's what we're able to do. And the neat thing about Adeptia is that we've templatized it so that you have a form and function of how to get to your back end. New data comes in. We can copy a similar template that will end up feeding your backend system, and the data analyst can work with that data to be able to get it mapped and transformed, and then just flow right through to your production systems. After that, full monitoring, nothing black box. We can feed your analytics tools, or you can utilize us for that as well. But ultimately, we'd love to be able to talk with you, and show you a little bit more about what we do. We can set up a free 15-minute readiness check on how you're doing it today. With that being said, I'd love to be able to meet you either virtually or in person, but I'll hand it back off to Jill to wrap it up, and we look forward to talking with you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Ramon, for such an in-depth look behind the scenes at the Adeptia platform. We did go through a lot in a very short period of time. As Jim said, if you would like to request some time and talk specifically about your own organization challenges and potentially see if there's an opportunity for us to help you, feel free to reach out to us at adeptia.com or scan the code on your screen. And with that, I think we are all set. We are not covering questions on today's call, but if you have them, please do absolutely reach out to us. Thank you again to Jim and Ramon, and we hope to see you soon.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.